The aim as a Celtic manager is always to dominate every competition. We have obviously qualification for the Champions League that we want to arrive into, and we want to and be really competitive in that competition if we arrive there. So that was our ideas last year. Nothing changes. You add to that the pressures here at Celtic is always about not just winning, but winning in a style of football that's always the pursuit of the teams here, to play attacking, aggressive football. So not just about winning, it's how we win, which is important for us.
Yes, interesting. Scotty, what's your thoughts on that first clip there?
Aye, it was good to hear him talking about the pre-season, mate. I think last season's pre-season was a lot stronger when we sort of pumped Man City and Chelsea and all that. I wouldn't say this one's been underwhelming. There has been a step up in quality through every game. I think that's something that we always do manage to do properly, is like step the level of competition up, sort of thing. I think the Newcastle was obviously the highlight. But it's good to hear him saying that, you know, he obviously wants to dominate every competition, and that includes the Champions League. I'm hoping that we can progress a wee bit further this season. So very, very, very positive from the manager to start us off, my good man.
Aye. What's your thoughts on that, Paddy?
Yeah, similar for me, Andy, as well. Obviously, we'll get into the rest of it as we go through. But those initial comments there, you know, just it has been a very positive close season, and in terms of the preparation that we've had, you know, we've not picked up any injuries in any of the players. Everybody should now be approaching full fitness, just still maybe lacking that wee bit of game sharpness, which will come after a couple of league games. But he's putting a very positive spin on it there. But, you know, if you go back 12 months, you know, we were approaching a Champions League season with Nicholas Kuhn as our starting winger and Kyogo as our starting striker. This season, as it stands at the minute, we're approaching a Champions League season with Adam Ida as our starting striker and Yang as a replacement for Nicholas Kuhn. Mm-hmm. And that, for me, although Brendan didn't say that, it's just simply not good enough. We're not anywhere close to being at the quality that we need for the season ahead. Preparations have been fantastic, but there's going to be definitely frustration there from Brendan that we are definitely light in quality. We were light in quality anyway. You know, he talked last season, whilst Nicholas Kuhn was still at the club, about wanting to bring in reinforcements and bring in quality players as well. Well, I'm sorry, we've now lost Nicholas Kuhn as well. You know, so not only do we, you know, if Brendan feels that we needed to bring in players while Kuhn was there, you know, and now we've lost him, you know, that tells you where we're at there. So as for the where we are at the minute, you know, more than enough at the minute to get the season started. There's absolutely no question of that. And that's with no disrespect to St Mirren or anybody else that we'll be taking on in the first weeks of the season. But we have more than enough in the meantime. But, you know, if Brendan has genuine ambitions, which we all do, of making some kind of an impact in the Champions League, we're really going to have to seriously look at bringing in a few more quality players. It's as simple as that, guys.
Mm-hmm. You did mention, obviously, Kuhn hasn't been replaced. And obviously we're a lot weaker than we were at the end of the season that's just finished, which isn't a position that we want to be in. Understandably, there's still a bit of the window to go, but just listening to Brendan and a couple of other things he said as well, knowing that, I don't even know if I cut to bit that he mentioned it. It was almost as if there wasn't really anything imminent going to happen.
Yeah.
So maybe another one or so, but it does go on about the attacking positions at the club, and a lot of people would say that a lot of the football was a bit turgid last season with the whole kind of horseshoe passing between the back. So hopefully we are more attack minded this season, and it's not as if we've not get quality. Even without Kuhn, we're still get quality there to attack teams in our domestic league. It's bravery. It's players that are willing to believe in their own ability, own the ball, and actually do something with it. You know, have a bit of balls and try and be a wee bit braver. Kaiser, what's your thoughts on that initial clip, Brendan?
I just get in there. Sorry, I was a wee bit late. Our legends in chat as well. Very sorry. Amazing pre-season. Fantastic build-up. A couple of dents in the road, but as Big Ange always used to say, you learn more from one defeat than 100 victories. I think we played some really nice football, building up. Even the first half against Ajax, I thought we were playing some fantastic stuff, showing that we've got quality there. It's coming, it's crescendoing, it's coming to a peak. I think we've got more than enough to kick off the domestic campaign, as Paddy says. I just don't understand the selling our best players and no having replacements already in the door. It's easy enough done to have these guys already in the door rather than let the guys go and so dice with destiny, I would say, and not have us Champions League qualification guaranteed. They're looking like we want qualification and then we're going to invest in quality. Like that makes a difference, the amount of money that we've generated and raised. Like that makes the slightest bit of difference at all. Rather than being reactive, the board should be proactive. We should have these signings in and we should be guaranteeing Champions League qualification. Looking at the teams that we're possibly going to be playing in the draw, there's a couple of banana skins there. And for me, I'm looking at it now and thinking to myself, I hope the second game's at home and the first game's away. And I shouldn't really be thinking like that. I should be thinking it doesn't matter who we play, we'll do the business away and at home. But it has left me thinking now of we do need quality coming in. We need wingers. We need quality in a few key locations. Of course, Daizen Maeda on the left wing. But if we bring in a quality left winger, then we flip to Daizen Maeda through the middle. And he's possibly the most top quality striker there. I think facing the start of the season with Maeda and Yamada threatening teams the entire game long with lightning pace, resilience and ability, and a quality left winger and a quality right winger, we would all be a lot happier. I think that's what Brendan's signalling. He's intent there. He's like, I'm not willing to just stand still and maintain. It needs to be incremental changes, even if it is just an incremental change, piece by piece, year by year. One player coming in of real quality, a real investment for one player who goes out who is real quality. You need to make that advancement to keep the manager interested. He's not going to just leave his reputation in tatters by being undersold or under-equipped, I think is more the term. That's what we're worried about in it, lads, being under-equipped.
See, the thing is, Kaiser, I think I don't think they're on the same songbook at all. I don't think they're on the same kind of wavelength when it comes to what they want their achievements to be. I think that was quite clear. We're going to get into it later on, actually. The last cup's going to be about Brendan's future, so we'll be able to talk about that a wee bit more. Scott, you were going to bring up Paul McStay at the unveiling the flag. So this is what he had to say about Paul McStay, Brendan Rodgers.
I asked you about Paul McStay. I remember being up at Aberdeen in, I think it was 81 when he scored in his debut. First start. How would a young Paul McStay perform in your team, and would you like to manage him?
Paul McStay would probably play in two positions for me. It's amazing when the club spoke to me and told me that he was the possibility of coming to do the flag day. I go into my boy mode again, and what an amazing icon of the club he is, and it's just a shame you don't see so much of him. He's obviously on the other side of the world, and but no, that was my memories growing up. You know, we Paul on the team and switching on the telly and knowing he was in the team with Tam, and just an icon of the club and such a humble guy. And I had the privilege to meet him my first time when I was here. He came into my office, and yeah, it was just what a brilliant player. So to see him Sunday will be amazing. And yeah, he was such an icon. It's such a tough time for Celtic as well, but just I can't speak highly enough of him as a player, and obviously the humility he has. I don't know Paul that well, but I know many people that do, and like I said, he was, you know, just meeting him when I did that first time, just the humility of the guy when really all I wanted to do was bow at his feet. Really, such a brilliant player.
Paddy, Paul McStay, a hero in many people's eyes, especially guys round about me and Scotty's generation. I know you're just a couple of years older than us, and Kaiser's a wee bit younger, maybe just before Kaiser's time. Did you catch it back into McStay? Did you, Kaiser?
Yeah. Caught the tail end of his career, my man. Ever present for the club, and one club player, absolute legend. As my dad used to say to me back in the 70s and 80s, the one shining light in a Celtic side. And there was another couple, right, as Brendan said there, playing with Tommy Burns as well. I think he called him Tam. And then I heard Brendan, as he go on, power up his vibrator, I think, now, lads. He kicked into high gear.
I thought it was somebody doing the hoovering, to be honest with you. Paddy, sorry, Kaiser. Paddy, what's your thoughts on Paul McStay returning to Paradise? A man who's, lives on the other side of the world, very busy man, gets his own business. I've seen a few people saying he should be maybe an ambassador for the club over there. I think he's obviously busy running his own business and living his life, but good to see him back at Paradise, innit, and a very special day for the club.
Oh, it's brilliant, Andy, and what an honour for Paul McStay himself. As Brendan said, what words can you use to describe Paul McStay? Any of us who were fortunate enough to witness him, I was the same. I watched him break into the team at Aberdeen, and we talked about, the pathway for young players coming through. Paul McStay at 16, 17, you couldn't have left him out of the team. It was as simple as that. The guy was that good. Once he got in, Charlie Nicholas was the same. Once they got in, once they got their foot in the door, there was just no keeping them out of the team. Their quality was unbelievable. And that was Paul. He was always years above his age type of thing. He's 19, 20-year-old. You'd thought he'd been playing for 20 years. The guy was just so good. They say that, it's a well-known statement that, they say that the good players always seem to be in space. And that's exactly the right for Paul McStay, and it's not that doesn't happen accidentally. These guys know exactly what they're doing. Paul McStay was an absolute genius. He was a wizard. Anybody who followed us recently, and we did the Last Man Standing, Paul McStay, went into that team, and we said that night if he'd started off at number 1, he would still have been there at number 10 when we got through. That's how good he was. He was absolutely unbelievable. We were very, very fortunate to have a player like that. Paul McStay could have gone to England. He could have gone to Italy. He had offers from Spain, but he decided to stay with Celtic. Even when we thought he was finally going, when he threw his boots in the jungle and all the rest of it, and then the next thing he signs another contract, we're all over the moon. So I'm just absolutely delighted for him. It's just brilliant because he's such a nice guy. I spoke to his brother Willie at Celtic Park, just after the season finished there, and Willie's the same. They're just a lovely family, lovely, quiet, soft-spoken guys. Big Celtic men, steeped in the history of the club, right back to their grandparents and stuff. So it's just a fantastic honour for Paul himself to be able to bring out the championship trophy and unfurl that flag, and it'll be an absolute brilliant day for the likes of my wee man who maybe hasn't seen Paul McStay other than YouTube clips and stuff. So it'll be brilliant for the crowd who maybe aren't as aware as Paul as we are, or a certain age group are, to be able to see him in real life. But they didn't call him the maestro for nothing. As I say, the guy was just unbelievable player, and we've talked about it many times, and I'll say it now. I said it before. In these days of the transfer window, as I said before, if you're a manager at a football club and Paul McStay at 26, 27 comes on the market, what sort of money would be changing hands for Paul McStay in the modern day transfer market? You know what I mean? You'd be talking 100 million. The guy was that good. When I saw players at later years, like, and I don't like making comparisons, but when I saw players like Kaká and guys that got Paul McStay was every bit as good as Alexa Kaká. He was an unbelievable player, and we were just so fortunate that he chose to stay with Celtic for his whole career. And I couldn't be more pleased. There's nobody more deserving of this honour on Sunday, and I will be delighted to see Paul get that flag unveiled on Sunday afternoon.
Nah, you're spot on, Paddy. Absolutely thrilled that he's going to be back at Celtic Park. Scotty, a personal hero yourself. You've got a wee story about Paul as well. I think you've told it on here as before, but I don't know if you want to talk about that again.
Aye, because we've got loads of new subscribers and things like that recently, so they might not have heard it. But I went to St Andrews in Saltcoats when we moved back from Edinburgh when I was a teenager. And my PE teacher was a guy called Mr. Hand, and Mr. Hand was that old that he was actually my Moz PE teacher as well. This guy was that fucking ancient, man. So he pulled me to one side one day and he said, Paul McStay's coming tomorrow to to the assembly. He's got to speak to you. So I was like, aye, whatever. And he says, no, he's a personal friend of mine. I said, all right, neighbour. So we had blue sweatshirts at the school. And I don't know if you can remember in the 90s, sort of lime green and black collar. It was on one of the away taps. Anyway, I had that tap on. We weren't allowed to wear Fitbit taps, so I had it on underneath my school jumper. And sure as shit, Paul McStay turns up, stands in front of all the Hingways, in front of all the Waynes, obviously. So I goes like that with the collar and I pulls it up, hoping any of the teachers will say. And Paul McStay seen it, and he goes, "You wee man, come here." And I went up onto the stage and spoke to him, and I was just like awestruck when I seen him and spoke to him. And it's the only time in my life that I've ever been starstruck with somebody. I've met loads of celebrities, loads of different people, for that sort of side of the world, and football players, and just Paul McStay, mate. He was just my hero, and I was just delighted when I met him, mate. And I'm so delighted that he's going to be unfurling the flag on Sunday for sure. He's just an absolute hero of mine, mate, a legend, and deserves everything.
Aye, I think it's definitely going to be a special day on Sunday, obviously, with the tribute to the Lisbon Lions that we've lost as well. And obviously having Paul back. We don't see enough of him, but obviously he lives on the other side of the world, so we'll let him away with that one. You don't see him on anything, to be honest with you. You don't see him on podcasts or anything like that, and he would be some guest to get for whoever it would be that would manage to get him on. It would be a big hit. That he's maybe just not that type of person, I think he's probably more a kind of private person.
I've reached out to him, mate. I have reached out to him to come on the pod, but no answer as of yet.
No. Right, okay. Let's go to the next section that Brendan was talking about, and this is obviously Pusey and on to Man City. So let's see what he's got to say about him, and he talks about that as well. Here we go.
Yeah, a very gifted young player, obviously coming through the system there at Manchester City. His profile fits very much what we want from our centre halves. He's quick, he's dominant, he's a good defender, and of course at Celtic your centre halves need to be able to progress the ball, and that's a big strength of his. So we've taken him on loan for a year. We always need all our centre halves at Celtic. You play so many games, so many intense games, and he'll join our squad. He's obviously a little bit behind because he hasn't played so many games over the course of pre-season, but we've brought him through for the rest of the season, and hopefully we can close that one out today.
How far do you think, Brendan, the squad is from where you want it to be?
Well, we're still a wee bit of work to do. I think that it's a huge credit to the guys that are here, how well they've worked. But the squad will hopefully look again different come the end of the window. So I think it's very clear we need to improve in the front end of the pitch. That's the attacking department is always and always will be the strengths of my teams, and we've lost important players in that area, and we need to replace our players in that area.
Brendan, you mentioned the end of the window with the playoffs coming a couple of weeks early. Does that bring greater urgency, or would you rather wait and get the players you want?
No, I think listen, every coach will tell you, and every manager, you would want your players in for the first day of pre-season, to prepare them, and that's why you do pre-season, to prepare. But if they're not available or you can't get the right players that you want, then of course you have to wait. I'm experienced enough now as a manager to not get frustrated, and you become quite philosophical on these types of topics now, and I just know that where we need to improve, and I'm sure by the end of, as I said, the window, that we will do.
Very interesting. Obviously the boys from Man City, and he's still not quite up to speed. He spoke about pre-season and getting a pre-season with I think it might be a few weeks before we see him, a couple of weeks at least anyway. Scotty, what's your thoughts on Pusey?
Aye, he looks decent, mate, and like you said, it's exactly what the sort of player that Brendan Rodgers looks for. It's a pity that he's not really had much of a pre-season, because I know we're going to get on to it later on, but it'll be interesting to see who starts, because it doesn't look as though Carter Vickers is going to be in the team on Sunday. So is it going to be Dane Murray? I was sort of thinking it was going to be this boy, but like I said, we will have a chat about it later on. But aye, certainly looks good. Bit disappointed that there's no a loan to buy option with the lad. I don't really like developing other players for our clubs and things like that, but especially a club the size of Celtic, we shouldn't be doing stuff like that. But aye, boy looks decent, mate. Can't wait to see him in a jersey.
Aye. Paddy, are you excited with us signing? I know it's a loan signing, but badly needed, I think.
It is, Andy, and I am pleased about it because, as I say, I always do a wee bit of homework. You know, as soon as I see that we're linked with somebody else, so I've spoken to a few guys, you know, Man City mates and stuff like that, and they speak very, very highly of this guy. You know, and his main attribute, for want of a better word, is, as Brendan said, is his ability to bring the ball out from the back. Big, tall, rangy guy with a great range of passing. Good enough defender, stuff like that, you know. But I think that's what we've been after. We've been looking for somebody to bring the ball out and bring the ball out with a bit of pace and get that. Sometimes it's all about that first pass. Once you break the press, and that first pass out to the left hand side or out to the right hand side can make all the difference when you're going the other way. So he definitely will help with that. I'm a bit disappointed in one way because I don't really believe in loan deals unless there's an option to buy. You know, to me, it doesn't really make sense. Listen, it addresses a gap, and there's no question of that. And sometimes that's what you have to do. Sometimes you have to address the gap. But, you know, I think Brendan, in his comments there, Andy, I think he's putting a brave face on it. I think that's Brendan being at his diplomatic best there. You know, privately, he's bound to be absolutely seething at the lack of movement there. You know, and I understand the way things are. You know, and if you look all across Europe, there's not been an awful lot of movement, really. You know, that in terms of clubs buying players and stuff, there's been a few moves here and there, you know, but there's been nothing enough, and that just seems to be the way these transfer windows are going from now. It seems to be the big majority of the business does seem to get done towards the end of these windows now, and that's becoming a regular thing. My only concern about that is, you know, and I do believe that the board are still looking at, you know, probably qualifying for the Champions League before they actually pull the trigger. You know, well, you know, the second leg of these playoffs is the 25th, 26th of August, and the window shuts early in September. So you've not even got about a week after the qualifier, really. So, you know, Celtic would need to be doing their homework right now as we speak to make sure that, you know, these guys are ready to go. And if it's Champions League qualification that it's resting on, well, then that so be it. But we don't really have an awful lot of time. But listen, we've been here before. We've heard the argument about it's Champions League qualification that's riding on it before, and nothing happened. So I'm just very, very sceptical. And as I say, I think Brendan is being very. I think at the very most there, he's being very diplomatic about things.
Aye, Kaiser. I think Paddy's spot on there. Disappointing. I think it's just a loan deal without any kind of options attached to it. My personal opinion on loan deals is that it's almost like an emergency situation when you bring in a loan player so something's went wrong when it comes to recruitment. And the recruitment doesn't start just when the transfer window opens, you know. This is these guys' jobs throughout the whole season. So surely they've got players pinpointed. And there's something wrong if they can't get deals done for players. So this is the avenue they've had to go down. Is go back to Man City, get back to the City group, the kind of, you know, it's smash the emergency glass and pull out a Man City player. Almost, we should never be in that position. And listen, for what I've seen, the boy looks good. It'd be interesting to see him actually in our team and how he does well. If you manage to see a bit of him and the foot he's playing, and how do you feel about him?
Yeah, definitely, mate. Well, Pep Guardiola says he's the future of Man City's defence. So that's high praise coming from a manager of that calibre. I never like to see a loan move with an option to buy. It's kind of like an elastoplaster on a bullet wound. You want to see some real treatment there, some surgery conducted, and some real treatment done at the back, rather than just bringing in a temporary measure. And as you says, mate, it sounds spot on. Break the emergency glass, right back into the Rolodex, because they're still using Rolodexes and fax machines at Paradise, I think. Send a fax to the City group. It just comes... It's a telegram they've got, mate. They send a singing telegram done for a player. Send us your Pussy. And I've been ear deep in Pussy since I was a young boy, so I know exactly how that operates. I heard he plays better in the wet, as we says the other day. I don't know exactly who was fingering Pussy out for the transfer, but fish fingers going on there. But
I
a captain would say, I think.
A minute, by the way.
They write themselves, but for me, I hope we can demonstrate the atmosphere at Paradise. I hope he gets a few games. We can demonstrate the atmosphere, the fans, show them what it's like to play first team football for Glasgow Celtic. And who knows, that might just turn his head and sell him on a move rather than going back down Man City to go back into, like, maybe, I wouldn't say he'd go back into playing PL2 because I think he's outgrown academy football and that. So I think he'd go back in and probably be a substitute for Man City, building for another few years. So who knows? He could want a move and go, right, when I get back home, we'll arrange a deal where I'm sold to Celtic, say for 6-7 million, and Man City have a 15 million buyback clause or something like that, should they excel and be worth a lot of money, should they want to return and should they want to take him back, should they require him.
Aye, see the thing with that, Kaiser, just when you're talking about, obviously, without having the option to buy on it, Man City rate this boy so that, you know, they obviously don't want to get rid of him. But if it comes in and plays really well, there might be an option to maybe take him on for another year. You know, it might suit them. Maybe they think he's still not ready even after a year at Celtic. So we could benefit out of that. Hopefully we're not in a position we need to get down that one route again. But the boy could come in and be superb for us. And we actually don't want to get rid of him. Could we maybe get him for another year? And then see where it goes for there, because, you know, Man City's a huge club, right? Obviously they're under pressure to win games. I don't think it's quite as much as where it is at Celtic. Like they never did a great season last season. When it comes to their standards at Celtic, you need to win every single game. Dropping a point, losing a goal is a disaster. Get into a game and losing at half time when players are getting booed off the park. So that's a big pressure to deal with. He's only a young guy, he's about 19, so that will really mature him as a player, I think. So I think it will benefit Man City, him coming to us. And if we can go and do some serious business when it comes to winning trophies again, then winning mentality, get back to Man City. And hopefully he has a good experience here. And it might be another option to maybe take him on loan for another year. But as I said, as good as he might be, I would rather get a permanent signing in and let us develop our own players, you know. Right, guys, I'm going to go into the last section here, and then we can get on with the rest of the pod. This is Brendan Rodgers talking about his future at Celtic, okay? So quite an interesting listen, and then we can have a wee discussion to see what you think his comments, okay? Here we go.
For the sake of honesty and clarity, the situation is I'm in my last year here at Celtic. I said when I first came in that I'd be doing 3 years minimum. I've loved every second since I've been back. Yeah, there've been challenges on the pitch and off the pitch, but in the main, this is a club that I really wanted to come back to. I'm really, really happy to be here. My situation is slightly different from a player's perspective. You know, a player in their last year of their contract, there's maybe a little bit more push for the club to sign and make sure that they're taken care of. For me, I've had talks over the summer with Dermot and Michael, and that went well. And like I say, then we take it from there. So once the club, the club will either offer me a deal or they won't. But either way, to my very last day here, I will give absolutely everything in my time, and it won't affect anything for me. I'm very committed here, very focused here, and helping us have a really good season.
Would you like to stay?
Yeah, I love being back here. There's a number of things. Of course, as a Celtic guy, I love my time here. I love, you know, the support, everything that I've had since I've been back. And like I said, there has been challenges, but my overriding feeling is I want to help the club continue moving forward. I'm not the type of manager, if you're just to maintain something, I'm not the right guy to have. I need to build, I need to work with players, develop individual players, and so if the club feel that is something that they want, then I'm pretty sure we'd come to an agreement. If not, it's as I said, we'll give absolutely everything until the very end here. So, but that's the focus. The focus is on the now at the moment.
Very interesting, Scotty. What do you make of that?
Are we going to get a better manager than Brendan Rodgers? I don't think we will. you know. So to say that they've not offered him a deal yet, I think it's definitely going to get offered. I don't think he's going to hold him to ransom in any way. The guy's a multi-millionaire. You know, maybe obviously increased terms for what he's on. I think he's on £2 million a year at the minute or something like that. So, you know, he's obviously going to get a wage rise. But I think it's all down to how he gets backed, Andy. You know, I think especially this window, if he doesn't get backed, then, you know, he's within his rights to do one. You know, the same happened when he was at Leicester. He never got backed and he fucked off of there. The flip side of that for the Celtic board is that he was given £26 million to spend on 3 players, which was Adam Ida, Engels and Trusty. And no one of the 3 of them really have hit the ground running. You know, so it's a lot of money for Celtic to put in, to invest into players. He was the guy that signed them, and, you know, you've got to look at it from that point of view as well. Is that what they're thinking? Who knows? You know, it's a double-edged sword, mate. But I'd love to see him stay. I think he wants to stay, and I hope he does, mate. I'd love to see him stay for a few years yet.
Aye, Paddy, a man for your neck of the woods. I know you've got a lot of admiration for Brendan. My personal opinion is, I actually thought he was going to stay kind of last season. I thought, I've got a feeling he might sign another deal. As it's kind of rolled on, I'm now starting to think that he'd no intention of staying at all. That's what I'm thinking. I think he's come back to remove a stain, and that is all. And I think he's just playing the game now to the end of the season. Just my personal opinion. What's your thoughts on Brendan's comments here?
I think they're the most telling comments that he's made, period, since he returned again. There's always been this argument around him, and you know, if anybody who's been watching the pod, you will see that we talked about it recently, and I did say that I thought this had the potential to be a circus that will run and run and run, and Brendan will have this asked of him every time a microphone is shoved in his face, pre-match, post-match, at every game we play. So until this matter is resolved one way or the other, and I think his comments there are very, very, they're very telling, Andy, as far as I'm concerned. You know, people don't realise, you know, these guys sign contracts, but there's all kinds of clauses in these contracts. Brendan will have a confidentiality clause without a doubt. There'll be a clause in his contract, basically, that he can't rubbish the board and they can't. So, you know, yes, we would all love Brendan to come out and say, look, they're shafting me here. He can't come out and say that, and he's not going to come out and say that, but he can go as close to it as he can. And I think what he said there today is as close as he can possibly get to saying, listen, guys, I have done everything in my power that I can do to try to screw money out of these guys. That's how it looks like to me. And you know, and like, I've followed Brendan very, very closely since the day that he came in the first time. You know, I watch and listen to every word he says. I watch his body language. You know, I know people from this part of the country who know the family and stuff like that, you know, so I just think his comments are very, very telling. And as I said earlier, you know, the fact that we're sitting here, you know, I don't know, you know, 3-4 weeks before the window closes, you know what I mean, whether you qualify or whether you don't qualify, you know, there's an argument that, you know, if you spend a bit to accumulate, spend a few million, you might qualify and make a few more million, you know, there's that argument, you know, so there's all kinds of things at play there, but I think the one thing that's absolutely clear there is he's making it absolutely clear to the supporters that he's asked for the help, he's asked for the quality. Somebody had an interview on with him exactly a year ago, and they ran it the other day, and it's just more or less exactly the same things as he's saying now. You know,
that was Laura Bradburn, wasn't it, that put that up, and it was. You'd think it was the day.
It was Laura, and it was just like as if it had been played for today, and nobody told you it was a year. You would have just thought he was talking about the situation today. So, listen, since the day he walked back in again, Andy, the guy has been pleading for money. He's been pleading for quality. You know, he's been pleading for extra. You know, and that's Brendan's forte. Brendan's a man manager. He's a builder. He's a developer. That's what he loves to do. That's what the attraction of Leicester City was. He knew that Leicester weren't going to win the Champions League or the Premiership anytime again soon, but he saw the potential there with a new training ground, fantastic state-of-the-art facilities to bring in young people. They were in the middle of a rebuild there, and that was just Brendan down to a T. So he couldn't have been more clear there. He said, I'm not here just to mark time and just to maintain. And if people are happy enough to just sit and maintain the thing and maintain the status quo with no real additions to the quality and just doing the same thing, plough on one season into the next, that's not for me. I'm not that kind of a guy. And he actually did say, he actually used those words, if that's what they want, it's going to be somebody else. It's not going to be me. So it couldn't possibly have been any clearer there. So listen, as Scotty said, these next 2 or 3 weeks for me are going to be absolutely key. Listen, Celtic could surprise us all. They maybe have their plans already made. They might already have guys that are they're 2/3 of the way down the road of pulling the trigger on a deal with these guys all over Europe for the positions that we need. And maybe it is riding on Champions League money. Maybe it's riding on Champions League qualification. I would just be very, very sceptical because we've seen this movie with the Celtic board before. And again, as we said earlier, even the Man City there, we've got a good record with Man City. We've got Frimpong, we've got Big Samaras, we've got Boyata, we got John Guidetti, we got one or two others from Man City there, but you can't keep just going back to that, as you say, Andy, the smash the emergency glass here and bring in a player there just before the season starts. Another school of thought that I saw today, which I think it just shows you how deeply some people think of these things. Are they bringing Paul McStay out on Sunday so that they won't boo the board? They know that they can't very well boo Paul McStay. Somebody said that the board are being very clever here. They're going to bring out somebody that they know that the crowd are going to react to.
I wouldn't be surprised, mate. I wouldn't be surprised.
You know what? With this board, anything's possible. I just, but I to be honest, I'm glad Brendan has given us a bit of clarity and a bit of honesty. It's there for everybody to see. It's just as Scotty said earlier. If he doesn't get the backing to see us make some kind of an impact and make a bit more progress in Europe, he's going to go. It's as simple as that. And as Scott said earlier, he had a conversation with Dermot Desmond and Michael Nicholson during the summer. He said it went very well. He knows where they're coming from. They know where he's coming from. And they still haven't made him an offer. So, that's just, it's just not good management. Just think of the lift that everybody would get now before Sunday if they announce tomorrow morning that Brendan has signed another 5-year deal with the club. Think of the publicity. Think of the boost that the supporters would get, and go out and give the guy 25-30 million to go and bring in another 2 or 3 players of the quality that we've been signing there recently. But for me, those comments are very, very telling, Andy. Very telling.
Kaiser, we shouldn't really be in this situation. Obviously, Brendan has shown that he's incredibly frustrated. I've got a lot of money in the bank there. And he must be, well, he certainly is frustrated that the funds are there, but the recruitment is just simply isn't working. No, you could put that down to they're just incompetent. You could put it down to they can't find the right targets that Brendan's looking for. Or you could also put it down to the fact that they're not convinced that Brendan has any intention of signing a deal and they're not going to invest any more money. Was it you, Scott, who mentioned Ida? The players that he's brought in, Engels and that, for their point of view, are they thinking that, well, we're not going to invest millions upon millions in a manager and they players come and thinking they're going to get developed with that manager and he's not going to be here next season? Is that what, would that explain kind of a loan deal and going for the kind of prospects rather than putting out any major kind of transfer funds again? What's your thoughts on Brendan's comments there?
I think he clearly highlights, right, and directs for attention to where the root of the problem is. He clearly highlights that he's committed to the club, and first and foremost, he's a Celtic man. He loves the club. He wants to see us progress year on year, incremental changes, development. Look at the 3 players he brought in: Adam Ida, Arne Engels, and Austin Trusty. They've all provided stability in performances at Champions League level. Trusty played very well at Champions League level. Arne Engels as well played very well. Adam Ida scored a few goals at Champions League level. It's after that in the soup of the SPFL where he seems to have faltered, Big Ida. But look, it's always a chance for him to turn it around. I wouldn't say Brendan had squandered that money or wasted it. He's not exactly bought Barkas back. He's brought players in who are doing a job for us and are still relatively worth what they were worth when he brought them in, with the exception of Big Ida maybe. right? With the exception of him, for me, what Brendan's saying there is clear as day. Look, back me. I'm the manager. I'm the best man for the job. I love the club. Back the team that we've got right now. The boys are all working very, very hard. Statistics and stuff for pre-season are up. Last year even, we're doing even better than we were last year. And he's directing more attention to who we should be firmly focused on, and that's the board. We should be focused on the board. The lack of ambition, the lack of drive, and the lack of commitment to Brendan Rodgers. He says it quite clearly there when somebody asked him a question as well. Would you love to stay? Would you sign another deal? And he says, I'd love to stay. He actually said love about 5 times, tripping over it, because he doesn't want to give away his strategic hand in negotiating a better deal. He doesn't want the board coming in and saying, oh, we'll just cut your wages down because we know you're going to stay anyway. So he needs to negotiate for a position of strength. He's winning titles. He's winning cups. We improved in Europe. Right, the Scottish Cup at the end of the season was a bit of a kick in the stones, but it was one we took. And as I say, you learn for those defeats, you learn for that put down. What he's asking for here is really simple. It's the same thing. It's an echo of messages he's echoed in past years. We need quality. We need quality signings coming in, and we need numbers. And he also says it's clear mathematics. When you remove a player from a position, you need to bring in another player in that position. It's clear mathematics. It's like playing Go Fish. You go and pick up another card.
Guys, that is technically right, but what you're wanting, if you're selling a player for whatever price, you want to bring in a better player. It's all right bringing in just to kind of get the numbers even again, but you want a better player than the one you just get rid of.
That's right. Well, we brought Kuhn in, right, mate, for, what was it, 4 million or something? Sold him for like 18 million. What he's trying to say there is, look, give me that 18 million and I'll buy a winger on either side at 7 million each, and then they're not coming in at the 4 million quality level. I've got £7 million quality level on either wing, or even more, maybe 10 on one wing and 8 million on the other wing. He's not asking for much. He's asking for the money that he's actually made the club. Because when Nicholas Kuhn came to your club, he had faltered at other major training camps around the world. Germany, he had faltered. They had not lived up to his prospective growth. And Brendan Rodgers, being an elite level player developer, managed to develop him to the level that he was at, that Como's came in and paid 18, 19 million for him. So that's Brendan's hard work. That's his sweat on the training ground and developing that player. And then he's earned a bigger deal. The manager's not asking for anything except what he deserves, in my opinion. And I'm saying also, like, that he had a meeting with Michael Nicholson, Dermot Desmond, never mentioned Peter Lawwell. That spoke volumes for me as well. He knows who the fat controller is. He knows who's holding the reins. He knows who's holding people back. I think Michael Nicholson last year went to the board with a request for a pay rise, and Peter Lawwell signed off, and I'm getting a 50% pay rise for the fantastic work that he was doing at the club. We have one of the highest paid boards in the UK, and certainly the highest paid board in Scotland. We need to hold these men accountable. We need to go. We need that guy who was shouting at Peter Lawwell outside, spend the fucking money. That needs to be Peter Lawwell's ringtone every time somebody phones him. We need that guy popping out from under Peter's bed in the middle of the night, and just like need some sort of hypnotherapy or something to convince them that you need to speculate to accumulate. It's the basic essence of business, and it's where you choose to speculate. You can buy tiles for Spain at £1 a tile and sell them at £5 a tile, or you can buy tiles for Spain at £10 and sell them at £100 a tile. It's quite easily done. It's the same thing with players. You need to go out and spend on the quality of the product that you're bringing in, the quality of the guys that Brendan's going to work with, and you need to do it sooner rather than later, because Celtic have got things for pre-season, patterns of play, intricate measures, so as we don't get caught up in transition and stuff like that. So all that needs to be ingrained in the players when they come into the club. That's going to take weeks and weeks and weeks to ingrain that into players, regardless of when they come in now. As I says, mate, the board should be backing Brendan, and see if the board had back Brendan to the same level as they backed him before, with the 26 million that he spent last year. If they backed him to that level in this window right now, he would sign a new deal. He would be willing to sign on and sign up. They've not even offered them a deal, mate. There is a long time left to go in this window, and there is a January transfer window to go as well. Perhaps the board are a bit of a risk assessment and risk averse. They're looking at us to definitely have qualified for the Champions League. and that also opens the door to attracting a higher calibre of player. So you can see all these, as Scotty said, it's a double-edged sword, mate. There's pluses and minuses, but one thing you don't do is play hopscotch on the sword, and that's what the board are doing. They're playing hopscotch on this sword here, and it's only a matter of time before they open their leg and somebody comps it right in the nuts. And it's usually us as the fans. It's us who get deprived of talent. It's us who get deprived of managers when Brendan walks away. Who are we going to bring in after that? It's going to be engineered decline. It's going to be Sean Maloney or Scott Brown, who's not quite ready yet. And managers like that, mate, who I think we just can't afford. That's not going to have us competing at an elite level in European football year on year. We need to back Brendan Rodgers as a support. We need to back him. And I think Paddy's 100% right there when he says about bringing out Paul McStay as well. It was a famous Roman emperor says, give them bread and they'll cheer. Just go out to the Colosseum and throw bread at the starving, moronic masses and they'll cheer regardless of what's going on. Feed the fans, you know what I mean? Bring out somebody to placate them. The old Celtic daddies, get them quiet because Paul McStay's there and they know the GB and things like that have already warned them. They have to be on their best behaviour as well. It's very calculated, very cold, very calculated, in my opinion, mate.
Aye, good stuff. Right, guys, thanks very much for your input there. Back to you, Scotty. You can steer the ship for the rest of the pod.
Brilliant, mate. I really enjoyed that, Andy. Thank you so much, mate. Really enjoyed that discussion and great points for the guys and from the viewers as well, mate. So some brilliant points. So thank you so much for that, my good man. Aye, so moving on. I seen somebody mention it earlier, a great goal there by Ayr United. And Paddy, Kaiser and Andy, it's something that we did speak about a few weeks ago. Ayr United have announced, we're delighted to announce that we've entered into a cooperation agreement with Celtic, which sees some of the Premiership club's top young talent playing for Ayr United. More flexible than the loan system, the agreement is designed to allow greater playing opportunities for players aged 16 to 21. Celtic pair Jude Bonner and Kyle Ure, both 19, have already sampled their first action with the Honest Men. A third player will be joining them soon. So, Paddy, it's something we did speak about, mate. Let's use Ayr United. Let's use Partick Thistle. All these ex-Celtic guys at these clubs. Lenny at Dunfermline as well would be a great role model for these young players. It's great to see that this has finally happened. They must have been watching the podcast, mate.
I think they have, Scott. I think that's what they were doing. If you give a wee rerun of about 2-3 weeks ago, we talked about exactly the same thing. So it's great to see it finally, in fruition. You've obviously still got Neil Lennon up there at Dunfermline, and you've got, Mark Wilson, so it's really, really good for Celtic. Scott Brown at Ayr United, Partick Thistle, brilliant for Celtic, brilliant for those clubs as well. First and foremost for them, they're going to get, I talked to you about it before, these young lads have been in the Celtic system now for a number of years. Yeah. So the likes of those teams like Ayr, like Partick Thistle, like Dundee, Dunfermline, they're going to be getting guys who are going to come in and they're going to give the dressing room there a real lift. And these guys will bring with them good habits. They'll bring the Celtic way of training, of behaving, of carrying themselves out, as professionals and stuff. So it's a win-win for both, because especially the likes of young Jude Bonner and young Kyle Ure there. I've watched them there recently, down in Cork as well as in the games abroad. And that's, these young lads are crying out for game time. They're absolutely crying out for game time, and unfortunately, because of the demands of the SPFL and the first team, European football and all the cup competitions, sometimes we just don't have that. In an ideal world, you'd love to be filling the team with 2 or 3 young lads every time you go out, but it's not possible to do that. There's such a pressure on Brendan and the squad to get results, so it's not always easy to blood these young guys as some people think it is. So it's absolutely fantastic for us, and it's fantastic for the club. Scott Brown will be delighted, absolutely delighted. The young guy Kyle Ure, very similar to Scott Brown himself, very similar to Callum McGregor, plays that similar role. So, just think of what Kyle Ure will bring to them, but also what will he learn from Scott Brown as well, from being out in the training pitch with Scott Brown, one of our most decorated captains, of the club, so brilliant for them. I don't know who the other young lad is at the minute, but there will be more, and there will probably be more before the transfer window goes. There'll probably be more of these other young lads going to other teams. So it's brilliant, Scotty, for everybody. But it's a win-win for Celtic, and it's a win-win for the other clubs as well.
Aye, Kaiser, Paddy's spot on there. It's such a better standard than that Lowland League nonsense. You know, these guys getting into the league below us, you know, the Championship, and really getting some quality time with ex-Celtic guys as well, and playing at a decent standard, by the way. And it is, Paddy touched on as well, mate, I think these boys will go into United as the two best players at United as well. So it's not just they're getting young players for Celtic, they're getting two players that are better than anybody else in that squad. It's just great news for everybody all in it.
Yeah, but as my man, it's mutually beneficial for both Celtic and Dale United. They get quality players. Celtic are facilitating that happening. They get them to come in there, and we get the players getting on the tools experience, as it were to speak. They're getting trained at a good level with ex-Celtic players. They're getting good experience in games. Good competitive league going there as well. And we will have other players going all over that league. I think Barry Robson's in there as well at a club. He's managing somewhere in there as well. So we've got a few ex-Celts down there managing along with Bruni and stuff. And it's only going to be better than what we've all been complaining about. How exactly does playing in the Lowland League get you ready for playing in the Scottish Premiership and playing for the best club in the Scottish Premiership? It doesn't whatsoever. But this, at least, players coming in, young boys, 16, 17, coming in and they can play one season in the Lowland League and then they move up to a higher level. And then inevitably the chaff will fall away and the good players will stick the course and they'll come in and then they'll be more versed. They'll have greater experience at proving themselves at a higher level to come into the Celtic squad and prove themselves and earn game time. I think it was Luke McCowan, perfect example of it, playing at a lesser club in Scotland than Celtic, obviously, but he's come in, picked up the experiences, picked up the training regime, dietary, all those kind of things, all those pearls of wisdom you can get for your ex-pro, just easily digested in segments. And these managers are also, they're wanting the best for Celtic as well, mate. For me, Paddy hit every nail on the head, like spot on. It's win-win situation. That's it, basically, my man.
Another thing, Andy, as well, is I know you're massive on the youth development and things like that, and we've lost a lot of youth players. You know, a lot of wind down south, and you know, haven't really made it, to be honest. Well, this new, I know we did have a big chat on it like 3 weeks ago, as Paddy said as well, but this might stop us losing younger players now if they've got an option to go and play in the Championship for a season. It's actually. It's such a fantastic idea, mate.
As and obviously we did spoke about it a few times. Obviously, not having the reserve league anymore, that's never coming back either. So to get down this avenue, I think it's a fantastic idea. The player's going to Ayr United, he's going to learn from Bruni, former Celtic captain, serial winner. A fine example, you know, to be to any young player. Good competitive league that they're into, so it's only going to benefit us. I think it's really going to mature them as players and encourage them that, you know, when they're playing real kind of first team football for a team, this whole Lowland League or whatever it is, it's just a load of garbage. So it's no wonder we're losing players if they're playing at that level and don't seem to progress.
Yeah,
anywhere near getting a kind of first team start or even on the squad. A lot of them can't even go on the bench. You know, so I think definitely if you've got the option to do that, and obviously with Dunfermline and all that as well, there's several clubs we can get down already down that avenue with Queen's Park as well. So I'm all for it. I think it's a great idea. Is this Sean Maloney? It's come up with us. You know, he's in charge of the pathway for players. So if he's got these ideas, then he's obviously been a very good acquisition for Celtic to bring in.
Aye, bang on, mate, bang on. And, you know, he'll have close ties with the likes of Lennon and Bruni and all that anyway, mate. So it makes the process a lot better. So, aye, great points again, lads. Let's move on. The Green Brigade, Paddy, have been busy, and they have put out a statement regarding the tifo, the two tifos even, that are going to be on show on Sunday at Celtic Park. So before the match, there will be a tifo encompassing the whole Lisbon Lions stand. We kindly ask that all fans raise their material as the team emerges from the tunnel. We also ask for the patience and understanding of fans whose views will be restricted by banners throughout the tifo. For the second half, there'll be a second tifo encompassing the North Curve. Importantly, we ask all fans in the North Curve to keep and reuse their material from the first tifo for the second tifo. As always, we thank all fans for their cooperation and for helping us to mark special moments for our legends, their families, our clubs, and the fans. So we'll cover that first then, Paddy. I believe they're doing one for John Clark and John Fallon, especially, is going to be one of the main tifos tomorrow. We know how good we are at the tifos. Quite a respectful, message there from the Green Brigade as well, with a restricted viewing and stuff like that. It was good to see. Looking forward to it, mate. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, can't wait, Scott. Especially as I'll be at the other end, so we'll have a bird's eye view of exactly what it is. Sometimes where we are, if they have it in the corner there, sometimes it takes a wee minute or two before it comes out and we can see it. So it'll be nice for us to be able to look at it head on and see what it is. So I'm really looking forward to it. And listen, it's a lovely touch. We've talked about it. During the summer. We've been absolutely decimated recently with the loss of so many of these guys. They're disappearing one by one very, very quickly. Yeah. But that's just life. But it's just a lovely touch from them. It's a lovely touch from the Green Brigade. So, and I know Big John Fallon, Big John will be having a giggle up there. Big John never liked the spotlight on him for any reason at all. You know what I mean? So, it'll be really lovely just to see what it is. So it'll be interesting to see what it is. But already, there's, you already hear the whispers already. There's a wee bit of discontent between the club and the Green Brigade, and we haven't kicked the ball yet. So listen, we don't want that for the whole season. We want to draw a line under that and move forward. We can't have this, every season between the Green Brigade and the club falling out and stuff like that. So I'm looking forward to the tifos. So hopefully the tifos will be well observed and well displayed, and it'll get the season off to a really positive start for everybody in the stadium.
Aye, you're bang on there, Paddy. And Kaiser, the Green Brigade, they are Marmite with some fans. They do good and they do bad sometimes as well. Let's not beat about the bush here. We'll start with the good. The tifos, they are outstanding that the Green Brigade do. Looking forward to it, mate.
Yeah, I'm a man. The Green Brigade, world renowned now for their ultra support and the tifos they produce. We've seen them so many times. We've seen entire stadium tifos and that set up by the GB as well. Some of the work they do is absolutely fantastic, and you hit a nail on the head there, my man. Sometimes they do get into a bit of trouble in that. For me, their support of Palestine, I absolutely loved it, mate. It started a movement globally to show Israel the red card, and the board is quick enough to capitalise on this and the growing fan base globally for Celtic, selling shirts in different countries all over the world. People in support, knowing that we won't stand idly by. We love to be on the right side of history. We won't stand idly by and just turn a blind eye to genocide, to pretend you don't see it is complicit, in my opinion. And the fact that the board's coming out and suspended free game ban and stuff like that, they're announcing, of course it's suspended. Me being for Ibrox, mate, any sort of suspended sentence is a win, in my opinion. You get to go home that day. But it's hard work. I take it being part of that. When you do have political views as well. I've seen somebody in chat there saying it doesn't need to be political this weekend. Honour our legends. Make a statement. Personally, I hope the first tifo is to honour our legends, and it all looks fantastic. And I hope the second one is a giant shark that somebody goes wielding at the board's head. I hope the second one is like a great white or something, mate, like letting them know. They start singing the theme music to Jaws or something, and just letting them know it's coming. But for me, mate, I'm a big fan of the GB. I know some of the boys who go away, the boys at the game. That's close to the section where I sit. I've shared a few pints in that with the lads down in the tall cranes who are a large part of the boys, and a lot of the guys for the GB. Look, they can be Marmite for fans, but the atmosphere they bring the engagement they bring. Love it. Full tifo, a Scottish Bobby right in the full stadium. It's not big enough, my man. You need to wrap it around the stadium twice. He needs to tuck it in his sock.
Nice. Oh, just the ones in the dugout need to hold it up out there.
Just ending right outside that Peter Lawwell's head, that big belly, and show me the busy.
Andy, a man can't get peace, Andy. A man cannot get peace. We'll get on to the negative side after this, mate, but let's talk about the positive side first. The tifos today are amazing, mate, and I'm sure, like the rest of us, mate, you're looking forward to it.
They should be rightly praised for the effort and the work they put in, because these things aren't easy to put together, and just about everyone the day is absolutely fantastic. So I'm always in support of the Green Brigade. I think you did mention Marmite. A lot of people just can't stand them, and I totally get that. But let's be honest, without the GB, Celtic Park is dead.
Yeah.
And that's a fact. That is a fact, because you keep the atmosphere going. You know, if you're at any kind of, let's say, a Celtic and Livingston game, you know, that the other ones that are keeping the atmosphere going, because people that moan about them are the ones that are sitting on their horns, you know, and you know, so I think they're an integral part of your support and our atmosphere, and what they bring is just magical. So I'm fully behind them. I think we all knew they were going to do something special anyway for this, you know, the opening day, and obviously losing two Lisbon Lions quite close to each other. So I'm looking forward to seeing it. It's going to be quite somber as well. It's been quite emotional, isn't it? Losing the two of them, and as time goes on, you're going to lose more. Unfortunately, that's the circle of life, isn't it? But these guys that went to Lisbon and done this magical thing will never be forgotten. Even when none of them are here, but they'll never be forgotten. Legends for life, and the GB will do them justice, and the rest of the stadium as well, I'm sure. So, looking forward to it, and good on them.
Really looking forward to it. And Paddy, you better get some photos for us, mate. Get them on the group chat if you're bird's eye view, mate, and we'll have a wee look. So, with the Green Brigade comes good, but also comes bad, as I said as well. Self-inflicted sometimes, you might say as well. So let's just have a look at this tweet that came out as well. So the Green Brigade have been given a 3-game suspended home match ban by Celtic, as Kaiser said, including, a lot of people don't know about this, any away matches within that period of time as well. So one of the two reasons for the ban relates to leaving their section to fly Palestine flags. Celtic punishing those who stand against genocide. Lads, I'll start with you, actually, Kaiser, on this one. What is your thoughts on that? Is it a nonsense for you, or do you agree with the board? I mean, what are you thinking?
To the utter shame of the board, my man. As we all know, as we can all see, world politics and stuff like that isn't something that's openly discussed. It's not something that people like to look into and discuss on a podcast where we're all here having fun and discussing the team we love. But the GB and people like that highlight to the masses. As I say, it started a global movement of show Israel the red card. Other clubs stepping forward, other fan groups stepping forward and being able to feel like they can voice their opinion in the stands. That's what it's all about. That's one of the colours that is slowly being drained away from football. And the board here trying to silence the GB, it's complicit for me in the silence of an undercover war and letting people get away with genocide. It's not a fair square go. You know what I mean, my man? There's one guy in the street with a stick and a stone and another guy with an automatic rifle. It is utterly tyrannical and terrible. I understand why the board maybe don't want to get involved in that sort of political debate and things like that. I can fully understand that. But at the end of the day, there comes a time where people need to stand up and be counted. Me, personally, mate, I'm in full support of the GB. I fly a Palestine flag when I go to the game, and I'm not in the GB. So if they're talking about my section, they see a flag coming for there, don't blame that in the GB. There is other supporters out there who are just in support of Palestine and the free people of Palestine. And just to stress another thing, bro, my dad always says to me growing up, one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter. So always like be wary of that growing up, son. When you look at world politics and world events, you'll be able to see it and make up your own mind. And that's exactly what I done with what's going on in Palestine. I made up my own mind, mate. It doesn't matter the colour of the people, the religious sect, who they follow, where they're from. It doesn't matter. It's just the way they're treating those people is utterly disgraceful. And Celtic fans who unite behind that cause, feel free to do so. Feel free to keep going and flying that flag. Never let yourself be oppressed or suppressed. Put down or silence. I'm very sorry that it probably fall back on the GB and they'll get we'll probably end up missing them for the Ibrox away game when we've got a larger crowd and stuff like that. But the board will be delighted. They can do more corporate seats and let in more brown nosers and Karens and Kens. They can all sit there silently and give you golf and tennis claps and stuff like that. That's not me, my man. I love to celebrate in the stands. I'm at Paradise to have fun. It's party time. I don't care if people whip their phones out and start filming me. Probably a bottle of Buckfast Deep before the first half and a bottle of Buckfast Deep after the second half anyway. So, fire away.
Andy, is this double standards for the Celtic board? You know, they were quite happy when the Ukraine flag was getting flown at Celtic Park and things like that. You know, you put it in a group chat that we should have a discussion about this. We don't normally do politics on this podcast, but when it's banning the fans that keep our stadium alive, as we've just spoken about, I'm sure you have got a strong opinion on it, mate. So fire away.
I know what side of history I'm quite happy to be on. Unfortunately, our board have a different opinion. And people that say keep politics out of football, we're steeped in political situations throughout the history of our club. So it's something that's going to be. We're the type of fan base that you know are going to stick up for the oppressed for obvious reasons, and we all know the history of Celtic. And this isn't on my personal point of view. I'm not a religious person, so I couldn't give hee-haw about anybody's religion or colour. This is on a human level, right? This is an entire nation getting wiped out. And so if they're wiping these people out, they're now starving them to death. And our government, the American government and every other government that's in Israel's back pocket are complicit in this. They've got blood on their hands. And technically, if our board have got blood in their hands as well, I don't quite get what the problem is here. Is it the fact that somebody's waving a Palestine flag, but it's not that waving the flag, it's they've moved out of their section to do it? Is this now the stage we're getting to? Is this the, the nitpicking that we're getting to? The divide between the GB in general, but I would say the majority of the Celtic fan base and the board is getting wider and wider and wider. Our board is full of Tories. Even a lot of our fans are Tories. The ones that go and get we all know who we're talking about here. One in particular that gets a seat at Celtic Park for absolutely nothing. Somebody who, when Celtic were on their knees, a wee guy had to come out for Canada to save us. And you've got billionaire singers we're never seen at Celtic Park until after all this was there. Somebody, I'm going to say it, Rod Stewart, could have saved Celtic at the time quite easily with a change in his pocket for what we Fergus put in. It was nowhere to be seen. Guys like that, and they're talking about political stuff and all that. There's a guy that Celtic hold onto his coattails because he's got a fucking Celtic crest on his drum and wears a green suit in Las Vegas, right? They're quite happy to do that, but we'll go and congratulate a Tory Prime Minister getting into office and gone with the Reform Party and all this kind of one. It's totally against our beliefs. I would say as a majority of our fan base, the way we are brought up. I know where I stand with this. Celtic board should be absolutely ashamed of themselves, the route that they're going down. And I'm 100% the GB. And everybody else that feels the same as me should stand up and do something, because I'm absolutely sick. And my missus will tell you. And sometimes I'm in tears watching social media, watching babies, children lined up, absolutely destroyed, not even had a chance at life. And the whole world's just turning a blind eye to us. And Celtic fans should be praised for coming up with a banner saying "Show Israel the red card," because look how many people's jumped on that as well and gave us gave them the thumbs up for that. You know, so we are no in the minority. Don't let anybody believe you that we are the minority thoughts when it comes to support Palestine. I would say the majority of the world is on their side. But the big hitters, you know, we know which side they stand on. So I'm absolutely disgusted.
Wow, mate, absolutely wow, Paddy. Follow that, mate.
It's tough, Scott, but I'll do my best. Listen, I've lived the biggest part of my life under an occupation, so I know exactly how the Palestinian people feel, you know. And anybody who knows me, I put a graphic up recently there with a picture, and that's exactly what it said. That I said that they called it famine in Ireland here at one time as well. They tried to tell us it was a famine. It wasn't a famine. It was a man-made. It was a man-made famine by the English, plain and simple. You know, so, and as Andy rightly says, you know, we're sitting here, you know, and Celtic are probably one of the most talked about, discussed clubs in world football. I can't think of too many that go into things the way we do. None of us would be sitting here as a Celtic fan tonight. Celtic Football Club would not exist if it wasn't for politics. We wouldn't exist. It's as simple as that. We were born out of politics, and I get that 100%. I get the need to try to separate sport and politics, and I would try my best to do that myself. But when Celtic encourage people to fly the Ukrainian flag because they're being invaded by Russia, but it's not okay to fly the Palestine flag because when they're being invaded by Israel, it's double standards. It's absolutely shocking. It's just it makes no sense whatsoever. And there aren't too many people in my island that don't have a sympathetic ear for the Palestinian cause and the Palestinian people. Listen, you can talk all you like about October the 7th, you know, and what happened there. It was absolutely disgraceful what happened. That Israel had absolutely every right in the world to defend themselves. They're a sovereign nation. They had every right, the same as any other nation. But as Andy says, you know, we don't need. I don't need anybody to tell me that it's not a famine, or I don't need anybody to tell me it's not a genocide. I can see with my own eyes. I can hear with my own ears. We can all see what's going on. You can only count the numbers of the official numbers. By the way, the official numbers of dead from Gaza. That's not counting the thousands of people who are still unaccounted for, buried under rubble of buildings that were tumbled away at the very beginning, that have never been recovered and will probably never be recovered. You know, so I think it's a bit rich of the Celtic board, as to say, given that we were born because of famine and oppression. That's where we originated from. That's where we started from. That was our starting point. We wouldn't exist today if it wasn't for famine and oppression. It's as simple as that. There would be no Celtic.
Yeah.
So I think it's a bit rich of the Celtic board when the people who hold that kind of cause very, very dear. We're all the same. I've spoke about it before, and you all know how I'm passionate about the draw from Irish people towards the East End of Glasgow. You all know that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I just think it's a bit rich that when the Celtic board know that these people, there are thousands and thousands of people like myself who will your automatic sympathy goes to the people of Palestine for what's happening. As Kaiser said, that, you know, Ukraine and Russia is a war. That's a war that's going on there. That's two armed countries, both armed to the teeth with military, with fighter jets, with weaponry. This is not a war that's going on in Palestine. It's a slaughter. That's what it is. It's not a war. You know, as Andy says, you've got guys out there with water pistols and slingshots against guys that are dropping, 600-pound bombs from the sky. It's not a war. It's a slaughter, plain and simple. And as Andy said, I'm proud to stand tonight and say that I know exactly what side of history I will be on, and when we're judged, and we will be judged in the future, we'll be long gone. We'll be long gone. But our children and our grandchildren will have to come behind us, and they will have to answer questions as to why did people stand on the sidelines and do nothing, in the same way that questions were asked of people all over Europe when the Nazis were carrying out the Holocaust.
100%.
the same way that questions will be asked of us, questions will be asked of our children and grandchildren. What did your granda do? What did your father do when that was going on? And the big difference there is, you know, we didn't have the technology in those days that we do have now. Now you can see it on your phone. You can see it in your living room. You can see it on your, you know, every device that you have. You can see it, read about it in the newspapers. You know exactly what's happening. But unfortunately, we're in the situation, as everybody knows. As Andy said, it's the big hitters. It's the guys who control the oil. It's the guys who control the money that are at the back of all this. You know, the usual suspects, the UK, the Americans. You know, they're at the back of everything. And again, I'm not being anti-Semite or anything like that. I've nothing against the Jewish people in any way, shape, or form. Anybody's creed, one thing or another, but that's the biggest issue that they're facing. The Jewish sector all over the world is very, very powerful. It's a very, very powerful lobby, and they lobby some very, very powerful people. And that's why it's being allowed to go on. But, you know, please don't insult my intelligence or insult the intelligence of the average Celtic fan, and try to tell us something is not a genocide when we can quite clearly see that that's exactly what it is. You know, it's just absolutely ridiculous. So Celtic again have shot themselves in the foot. Again, as Andy says, they've been very clever even in their wording. They're not going to punish them for the actual flying of the flag itself. It'll be for moving out of their place to fly the flag. That's what it'll be. But it's just shameful from the club, as I say, given that the very roots that we stand on, the seats that we sit on, are rooted in history. And as I say, we were born out of famine and oppression, and there's a famine and there's an oppression going on in Gaza and all over the West Bank and all over that part of the country. And as I say, I think it's just shameful from the Celtic board that they can't at least say, do you know what? We have a very large section of our support that actually support the Palestinian people. We're not murderers. We don't advocate murdering Israelis or Jews or anything else. But it's not right what's going on. Israel had every right to defend themselves, but this is not self-defense, Scott. Not by a long shot.
Gentlemen, fucking hats off to you, man. Honest to God, like I was proper apprehensive. I'll be honest, I was apprehensive about that segment. But the three spoke so well. There's over 180 people watching us at the minute. If this is your first time watching this podcast, that's the sort of content that you get and the sort of opinions that you get from the heart for the three of you there, gentlemen. So absolutely outstanding. Thank you so much.
I just want to say that. Sorry to interrupt. I just want to say that normally we don't get down this route.
No,
you know,
we don't.
Podcast, but I think something's got to be said. That eventually something's, you know, we've all got our own personal views, and maybe this isn't a platform to get, but something's got to be said. I'm not going to just sit here in silence.
Yeah. No, it is. Andy put it in a group chat. You know, let's have a chat about this, and I was kind of like, "Oh Christ, is it a good idea?" And you know, as you've seen there, it was a good idea. You can't sit back and watch these things continue, especially when it's affecting our own fans as well. Now, you know, it's just for making a stand. It's a joke, you know. So. Just brilliant, lads. Absolutely brilliant. Really love listening to you all there. That was fantastic. So, moving on, I've got a wee thing for the lads tonight. I was going to do it on Wednesday night, but we went over time quite a bit. So, we'll get a wee bash tonight. I'm wanting everybody to pick where you think all of these sides are going to finish this season. Sorry, I put up the wrong one there. So, yeah, Aberdeen, Celtic, Dundee United, Falkirk, Hearts, Hibernian, Kilmarnock, Livingston, Motherwell, Rangers and St Mirren. Where do you think they're going to finish in the Premiership table this season? That was obviously how the Premier League finished last season, with the mighty Celtic winning the league, obviously, followed by Rangers, Hibs, Dundee United, Aberdeen, so on and so forth. So I'm just going to go around the panel. The majority wins. If it's three separate answers I get, then we will go to the majority of the guys in the comment section. So we'll just do it team by team. Paddy, I'll come to you first. Where do you think Aberdeen are going to finish this season? As you can see, they finished 5th last season. You know, they had a great start to the season and kept us going till about Christmas. And then, like Celtic, after the Champions League, they sort of fell off a cliff, didn't they, mate? So Aberdeen this season, mate, where are you putting them?
I think the Dons will bounce back this season, Scott. I honestly do. I think they'll be buoyed by the Scottish Cup success against Celtic at the last day of the season. We said it before: success breeds success, and a good lot of those Aberdeen players, that was the first time they've experienced, winning a trophy, and that does make a huge difference in terms of confidence and and players strutting their stuff type of thing. So, but I do think it'll be a battle for them. I have my other reasons for it, which we'll go into. But I'm going to go for. I see Aberdeen going one better this season. They were pipped at the post at the very last, but I see Aberdeen finishing in 4th place this season.
Okay, Kaiser.
Yeah, I mean, I was along the same lines of thinking. I thought they would maintain and finish 5th again. I just put a wee list down there as you had it on display, like no the one with the points for this year, the blank one. I just took a wee list down, like just the initials where I thought they were going to finish. But yeah, I think Aberdeen will finish 5th again, my man.
Okay, so Andy, we have a 4th and we have a 5th. Are you agreeing with any of the lads, or is it going to go to the panel, the guys in the chat?
I'm just stunned that Kaiser's got a pen and no a paintbrush.
He's been shopping, mate.
Paintbrush, man, I've got it all.
I've went for Aberdeen in 5th place. That's who I've went for. Yep.
Right, no bother, mate. So Aberdeen have been predicted to finish in 5th by the guys on the podcast. So up next is pretty obvious, but let's have a chat about it anyway. The mighty Celtic. Paddy.
I think that's an easy one, Scott, and it's not being overly confident or whatever, because I think there's still a bit of longevity in this transfer window. I do anticipate that the board will get their act together and they will get Brendan on another contract, and they will get him at least another 2 or 3 quality players to come in. And Rangers have shown signs of looking promising in terms of the players that they've signed, but we're just going to be too strong, Scott, over the course of the season. As we said before, the league's a marathon. It's not a sprint. It's the grind from late July, early August, right through until the middle of May next year. And you've to encompass the winter time, heavy pitches, European football, cup competitions, all the rest of it. We will just be too strong. And I see Celtic being champions, and I feel we will be champions by at least 10 points.
Kaiser, I actually wrote it down this afternoon because I knew we were gone. But I mean, give us your thoughts, mate. Where are the mighty Celtic finishing this season?
Paddy, spot on. Champions again. Ole, ole, mate. By far and away, I think we'll be about 15 points clear. I think by this first game at Ibrox, we'll already be 3 points clear. Failing them, I think they're going to drop points this season. I've watched them play, I've watched them develop, I've watched how they play their football, and I don't think they're as strong as their fans think they are. Definitely not. They're all on delusional and they've got a false sense of reality. But I'm going to leave where I'm thinking they're going to finish until we get onto them. But for me, mate, champions again, Celtic all the way, first spot.
Okay, Andy, we respect your opinion, sir. We do have a majority. However, where are you thinking the Celtic are going to finish this season, mate?
Obviously, first. When it comes to Rangers, obviously they take over and all this push that you keep going on about. Due to financial fair play, these things take a lot of time to kind of pan out, so it's a longevity thing with him. They simply have to get the patience. So this guy is going to be out of job again. That's what's going to happen because the fan base dictates that. Maybe I don't know if as fan responsive as the old board, but they'll bow to pressure again. Because I don't think their squad is better than ours. Their first team isn't better than ours. And listen, we do need to improve, but we're still better. We've got a team full of winners, still plenty of winners in there, know what it's like to win a trophy, win a league, and the longevity involved in a league campaign. So Celtic are definitely in first place. And just when it comes to that, more, but I know we're going to talk about them in a wee bit, but it used to be the hope that killed them. It's now the expectation that's going to kill them. So they've went up a level. They've went from hope to expectation, which is one of the worst things you can do, especially when you get nothing to back it up with, no evidence to back it up with. So I'm very confident Celtic are going to win the league. Easy.
the lads are predicting Celtic to win the league yet again. Next up is another team, Paddy, who done quite well last season, then sort of faded away as well, was Dundee. They've probably lost their two best players now, McCowan and Lyle Cameron and things like that. And you can't lose players like that and progress really. Where are you thinking Dundee are going to finish this season, mate?
Do you know what, Scott? They got away with it by the skin of their teeth this season, but I don't think they're going to be as fortunate this season. Big Stephen Presley's gone in there. He's not got off to the best starts by any manner of means. There's already a big section of the fans who maybe didn't want them in the first place, and they're now against them. So I think it's going to be very, very difficult for Dundee this season. The shining light for them again will be Simon Murray. Scored a lot of goals for them last year. If Murray has another breakout season the way he did last year, it might make a difference to them. But it's going to be very difficult for Simon Murray to replicate what he done last year. So I'm going to go for Dundee to finish rock bottom, number 10.
Oh, okay. So Kaiser, bottom of the league for Paddy.
12.
Yep.
That'll be
12,
Right,
mate.
number 12. Yeah.
You're going for 12 then, yeah?
No, mate, I'm going for them finishing 10th. I think they will drop off. I don't think they'll completely drop off. I think they'll manage to maintain their spot in the league. But I see them finishing 10th, as Paddy said, by accident instead of saying 12th. But we're not counting that, Paddy, right? We're not counting that.
10 press-ups, Paddy, 10 press-ups. Okay, Andy. So we've got a 10th and we've got a 12th. Are you going to sit in between, or do you fancy any of those positions?
with Kaiser, 10th. I went for Dundee just simply because
Same
I've
again.
got another two teams that I think are worse than them. There's one in particular, and I bet you can guess who is going to be rock bottom, but we'll get back into that.
Who do you want to be rock bottom, Andy?
I wonder who that's going to be, Andy. I wonder who that's going to be. So Dundee have slipped into 10th position. The lads have had their say, and they think that Dundee are going to finish in the same position that they ended up in last season by the scrape of their teeth, as our Paddy said. So next up is the team just a couple of yards down the road then, Paddy. Dundee United. Where are you putting Dundee United this season, my man?
For me, Scott, I'm going to look, as I say, I think it's going to be very, very tight again between them, between themselves and Aberdeen. It's going to be a good battle there. But they're going to struggle. But both of them will be very, very, very determined to finish in the top six. But I'm just going to switch the two of them around. So I'm going to go for Dundee United to finish in 6th place behind Aberdeen in 5th.
Okay, mate. So, yeah, Kaiser, it was very close between them and Aberdeen last season. As Paddy said, as we can see here as well, my man. Are you giving them any hope? We've got Aberdeen in 5th position as it is. The lads have picked 5th position for Aberdeen. So, I mean, where are you seeing Dundee United run about that sort of level again?
Yeah, mate, 7th. I've actually got them wrote down as I seen Dundee United finishing about 7th this year. And I see Andy smiling there. He's like, this man's reading my mind. It's a pen, Andy. It's a pen.
Get us Bluetooth
Yeah,
thing going on. Sit next to each other like you exchange stuff.
Magic pen.
I think they'll finish 7th, my man. Sorry, just to hit the name on the head there. They did perform well last season, and I think they've retained most of their squad. But I just don't see them. I think other teams in the league have improved while they've maintained. So I can see them finishing 7th.
Okay, mate. So, Andy, you've got the deciding vote again, mate. Are you with Kaiser yet again? You're looking at his shoulder and copying his notes?
I promise I haven't been cheating. I've went for 7th for Dundee United as well. Aye.
Right. No bother, mate. So Dundee United are in 7th position. Okay. Who's next? Let's have a wee look. So it's now Falkirk, Paddy. So Falkirk, they have came up from the Championship, obviously. How do you see them getting on, mate, in their maiden season back in the top tier?
Scotty, I actually think Falkirk will be I think they'll be a wee surprise package for quite a few people. I think they will be. I saw a wee bit of them towards the end of the season, and they played some really good stuff. Do you know what? It's a tough one. You've got to factor Dundee into it. People will look at Livingston, they'll look at Falkirk and stuff like that there. But in my original planning, I had Falkirk finishing 11th.
Okay, mate. Yep. So, Kaiser, Paddy's got Falkirk going below Dundee in 11th place, and they'll be in that playoff position at the end of the season. Do you agree with your Paddy?
Yep, I definitely do, Paddy, mate. Spot on. Now I'm copying you, mate. As you see there, mate, Falkirk. I don't know if you can see it because the camera cuts it out because of the background. 11th, I've got them down there, mate. I think Falkirk will be back in danger again this season. They do play some good football and stuff. I just think coming up, they're just lacking the quality they need to maintain in the league. And I've basically got them all decked out where I want them. They just need to come down here for a sheet of paper off me, mate, and know where they're all finishing.
Good man. Andy, I disagree with the guys. I've got to be honest. I think Falkirk have got to do well in our league. We played them in the cup and that, and they looked a decent outfit. It's obviously got to, you've got to do it over the course of a season, but I think McGlynn's done a fantastic job there, mate, and they've got a decent wee side, actually. I think they'll do better in 11th, but I don't have an opinion on this. They are in 11th position because the two guys have decided that, but where are you thinking?
9th. I've went for them in 9th. I was really impressed last season. I thought they played some really good stuff. But the only thing is they kind of tailed off at the end of the season. When the pressure was on them a wee bit, they did tail off a wee bit. Obviously, it's a long, hard season in that league, and it's quite difficult, actually. But I don't think they're going to get relegated. I've went for 9th. I don't think they'll be as high up the table as what I would have been kind of thinking when we played them at that point. They played some really good stuff. Just for the sake of the way they ended the season, they ended up quite lucky, actually, to get up. But they done the damage at the start of the season.
Yeah.
So I've went for 9th.
Yeah,
but I'm glad they're in the league because McGlynn's a good manager, and they do play some good stuff, which is good to see.
Yeah, mate. I see that 9th and 8th was available there, and I was sort of looking at that sort of positions as well. But the lads have spoken, mate, before you, and Falkirk have got the number 11 position in this season's SPFL Premiership. So after them, we have Derek McInnes's now Heart of Midlothian. They've had a great pre-season, Paddy. They look very good. They've kept Shankland, which is massive for them as well. He's made some good signings, and we know how good a manager he is in the Premier League as well. It's a bit of a coup for them to get Derek McInnes for me. I think Hearts are going to do very, very well this season. But where are you putting them in the league table, mate?
Yeah, I think they'll do well, Scott. I think Derek McInnes coming in will give them a lift, which they badly need it. I think he'll galvanise them and he'll get them going again. He's made one or two signings. There's a couple of guys have come in from abroad and they're a bit of an unknown quantity. But I think keeping Lawrence Shankland and getting him back again was massive for them. So I'm going to go for Hearts to finish in 4th place.
Oh, 4th. Okay, so we'll get Celtic in 1st, Aberdeen in 5th, Kaiser. So there's gaps there. 6th place is available as well, mate. So where are you putting Hearts?
I also put Hearts in 4th, man. I know Derek McInnes is there. It's got to take a wee while for his kind of style of football to solidify there, the kind of players that he wants in there. Shankland's a big fan of Greg's, so he usually win a season without scoring fuck all, didn't he, basically? So in my opinion, mate, I've got Hearts in 4th as well. I think they'll do a bit better. Shankland and that'll do a bit better this year, but I think this rotten mob over here at the side of the city turned his heat last year, and that had a bit of a detrimental effect to his game. But I've got them down for 4th, my man.
Okay, mate. So again, Andy, the lads have spoken. Hearts have the number 4 position in the league. Any thoughts on where you thought they would sort of finish this season?
I've went for them to finish 3rd. I think they've obviously taken a bit of investment. They seem to have their heat screwed on. I can't stand Hearts, by the way. They're up there with the Huns for me. Absolute cesspit of a stadium, I know, when you go and visit it. The bile they come out with, so I can't stand them. But it's my opinion, I think they're going to finish 3rd. And incidentally, when you're talking about Shankland, the reason why he's still there is because nobody wanted him because he was pushed last season. So that's the only reason he's still there. It's not that he wanted to be there. Nobody else wanted him. But I still think they're going to finish third.
Aye, I think he was hoping for a wee phone call from Kaiser's neck of the woods, and it never came. So he had to tail between his legs back to where he came from. So, Paddy, we have Celtic in first, Hearts in fourth, Aberdeen in fifth, and the rest of the stragglers are underneath. So, we're going across the city to their arch rivals, Hibernian, who I think will do very, very well this season. Great signings there, and they're looking at Russell Martin as well, I believe, now to come in there. So they're certainly bringing in a better calibre of player these days. A few good signings, a few free signings came in as well. Good signings. Where do you think Hibs will finish this season, mate? Second and third position is available.
Do you know what, Scott? There was a day or two there where I was actually thinking Hibs could possibly be the team to split the Glasgow to this year. But now I'm not so sure. I just feel that Hibs maybe over the course of the whole season, I think that might be what will do for them. I think they have the potential to have a really good season. They do have the potential there. I don't know if they've got the guy Triantis back or not. There was talk about him coming back. He was a fantastic player for them last year. Huge player for them in the middle of the field. He was a guy that I actually thought Celtic could have done worse than taking a look at. But I think, just with the squad size and the fact that the season stretches out so long, I'm gonna go for Hibs to finish in third place.
Okay, mate. Kaiser?
No, mate, I'm going to go for the High Bees to finish in second place. I've got a wee affinity for them as well. My missus, her father was a Hibs fan. Sunshine on Leaf and all that. I love their song. I love the fact that it's only their song as well. It's one of the greatest things in world football when your club's got its own song, and such a fantastic song as well. So I can see there'll be a bit of a sunshine on Leaf this year, and I see Hibs finishing second, my man.
Okay, Andy, you have the deciding vote. There's second, third, or sixth place available for the High Bees. Where are you putting them?
I'm not copying Kaiser again, but second place for Hibs for me. Hibs have been a major underachiever, right?
Just leave an Andy and he's a kiss.
The good thing
No tongues.
The fact David Gray, they stood behind him, and backed him, and it paid dividends. He got them playing some really good stuff, and I think they're going to kick on this season. It's something I've never really believed about Hibs, because they always underachieve. They've always had kind of half decent players, but they don't quite hit the kind of pinnacle. I fancy Hibs to get second place, and I'm not just doing it out of badness, but I really do. I think there's a good quality of player in the league this season. Some good teams. So Hibs for second for me.
Hibs get the second place in the league, Paddy. So let's move on, sir. Next up after Hibernian is the Kelly boys from Ayrshire. Let's have a look where Kelly finished last season, my good man. They finished, as you can see, in 9th position. So there is 6th, 8th, 9th and 12th available down the bottom there, Paddy. Who's it you're going for, sir, and why?
I'm gonna give Kilmarnock back. Kilmarnock to move up one spot and finish in 8th again. I don't know that there's been much change around there. The losing Derek McInnes was obviously a blow for them, but they will probably regroup. They've done very well there, but from the days of Kilmarnock really battling to be in the top 6, I see them now. I think they will drop down into that bottom 6 now and be. I don't see them being relegation battlers, but I don't see them really challenging too much for the top 6. So I'm going to slot Kilmarnock into 8th place.
Okay, mate. So Kaiser, like I said, my man, we've got 6th, 8th, 9th, and 12th available down the sort of bottom half of the league. Where are you putting Kelly?
I'm putting Kelly in 8th, my man. I think they'll go one better than last year. I think they finished 9th last year. And Motherwell were 8th. I think Motherwell will lose out on Lennon Miller. I think he'll move on, and I think that will see those two basically swap places. Killigan up to 8th and Motherwell dropping down to 9th.
Okay. No worries, mate. So 8th position for Kelly, the lads are saying. Andy, agree or disagree?
Disagree. I've got them in 11th. That's where I've put them. I don't fancy Kelly at all, to be honest with you. So that's where I've put them, 11th place.
Right. So Falkirk are in 11th at the minute. There was 12 available, but yep, the lads have picked, and it is number 8. So number 8 they get. Next up, ladies and gentlemen, is Andy's favourite team. I believe he's tops at the post, and it's arriving tomorrow. He was telling us in the green room there. Paddy, we know where Andy's putting David Martindale, his side, but let's save the best for last. Paddy, where are you putting Livingston and why?
Well, as you know, I was tempted to put Dundee right at the rock bottom, but I've since changed my mind. So I'm afraid for Livy. I really do fear for Livy coming up. I just don't think they have the quality of Falkirk, and that's why I thought that Falkirk would be that bit ahead of them. So for me, I just think Livingston it's going to be a real struggle for them this year. And I'd be delighted if that's the case. I'll be absolutely delighted as well. So I'm going to go for Livingston to finish in 12th spot.
Andy's rubbing off on our Paddy there, Kaiser, by the looks of things. where are you putting Livingston, mate?
He's clearly been rubbing off on me as well, as dirty as it sounds on this podcast, my man. But I'm putting them in 12th as well. Send them in their cursed carpet straight back down. I think the end of this year is the end of artificial surfaces in the Premiership. So I'd see them getting straight back down, my man.
So, Andy, we've got 3rd position. We've got where are you putting Livingston, mate, and why?
Absolutely rock bottom. Position 13, if there was one, that's where
Bowling League.
a manager that I actually can't stand in a club that just doesn't belong in the top league. I keep shouting on about it, but it's an embarrassment. It really is an embarrassment that a team like that are playing in our top league. Anyway, they don't belong anywhere near our Premier League. So fingers crossed, that's where they're going to end up, and never to be seen again. Hopefully, I was absolutely devastated when they came back up. Devastated.
We know.
I'm going to get a wee doll made up. I might get 20 Katie's old baby dolls, and I'm going to draw Martindale's face on it, and that's going to be my doll for the season. I will be hickory pokery on that to make sure that they never come back into this league again. It's getting ridiculous doing that.
I should have just wrote Celtic and Livingston in top and bottom position before I even started. But I knew where that one was gone. So, Paddy, we have got position 3, position 6, and position 9 available, sir. And next up is Motherwell.
Yeah, again, an easy one for me, Scott. And I think it's just because of the teams that are going to be around them. I see Motherwell having a very similar campaign to they had last year. Obviously, if they lose Lennon Miller, it'll be a major blow for them. But maybe if they get decent money, they might be able to bring 1 or 2 guys in before the window closes. So I'm going to go for Motherwell to finish in 9th position.
Okay, Kaiser, do you agree with Paddy?
Yep, mate. I already said that. Sorry, I gave it away a wee bit earlier there, saying that Kilmarnock and Motherwell would flip-flop sides. Going into 9th for Motherwell, Kilmarnock finishing 8th, mate. That's the way I see if chips falling there.
Okay, pal. So Motherwell have got position number 9 fully stacked. Andy, agree with the lads?
One position above I went for 8th for Motherwell. I actually don't mind Motherwell. I think they give youth a chance, which you want in the Scottish game, especially when it comes to the national team. Try to kind of bleed these players through. Whether they keep a holiday, Miller is another story. A big miss for them, but I'm pretty sure that they've got a good youth academy. So I'm pretty sure they have got other players there they can bring in. So I've went for 8th.
Okay, so Motherwell get the number 9 position on the 4 Leaf Clover podcast. Paddy, There is position number 3 and position number 6 left. And next up is the Rangers.
Well, I suppose I can't do anything else other than go for third place now. I do feel that over the course of the season they will still be too strong with the resources that they have for the rest of the chasing pack. You know, obviously it would be lovely if maybe Hibs or Hearts or even Aberdeen could come in there and separate Celtic or Rangers and push them out. But given the fact that everybody would be very confident that Hibs are going to finish in second place, I'm fairly confident prediction that Rangers will finish in third place.
Okay, mate. So third or sixth for you then, Kaiser?
Third place, my man. Another manager down by Christmas and a new manager in the door, and I finish off third place by the end of the season. Which it does pain me to say they would still finish quite high in the league, but I think Paddy's spot on. They do still have resources. They do have some half decent players there. I think that's who is it? Steve Martin, Russell Martin, whoever it is, one of the Martins that's the manager. I think he's got them. He's going to try and play football with that side that just can't play football, and he's going to fall to the sword, definitely to the high bees, and I think there'll be other teams that take points after them as well as us this season.
Okay, mate. So the Rangers have got the third position sewn up then, Andy. You agree with that?
I kept fourth place nice and snug for them just to slot in there. Maybe a wee bit tongue in cheek, but I mean, I'm looking at Hibs and Hearts and I think they're going to be strong. Yeah. And I think they might find it harder than what they're actually expecting. All it takes is a couple of kind of dodgy. They need to start well. They might kind of, as the season goes on, the kind of early stages, they might pick up a wee bit, but they're going to fall away again. I can see it. I can just see it. And I think Hibs and Hearts will be strong. So fourth place for me.
Okay, so the Rangers have sneaked into third position, and there's only one team left then, Patrick, and that is St Mirren, mate.
St Mirren.
Yep, and the only place left is number 6, and that's exactly where I had them going anyway. Because I do see them being the best of the rest again. They've been very impressive, Scott. They have been, and they'll give us a game on Sunday. Stephen Robinson has worked wonders there. He's done really good job with very little resources there. He's brought in another one or two just this summer as well. He's used the transfer market very, very wisely. They're playing some good stuff. You know, they've scored a lot of goals, and it'll be interesting just to see what sort of a game they give Celtic on Sunday. But again, you know, they were delighted again to finish again, you know, last season and get the top 6 again. So I would say Stephen Robinson would bite your hand off for that again this season already at this stage, given the fact that if you look at the strength of the teams that are going to be above them, you know, last year there was a potential for St Mirren to even go a bit higher, you know, with what happened to Aberdeen and Hibs falling off a wee bit. But I do think because of the strength of those teams above them this year, I think St Mirren will be well placed to finish in 6th place.
Okay, mate, bang on. So only 6th place is available, Kaiser, but would you have had them anywhere else?
That's where I had wrote them down anyway, my man. I had them in 6th place. I think they'll maintain what they've managed to do that. Well, that past year there, I think they'll maintain that. They play a very good brand of football. They come out to play. It's not just 100% defensive block. Yeah. So I think they'll come out to play this year again, and it will be a very interesting game this weekend. I'm really looking forward to it.
Aye, can't wait, mate. The juices are certainly flowing. So, Andy, St Mirren do end up in 6th place, but would you have had them they finished there last season as well, mate? A similar sort of season this season?
Aye, before I do that, I've just got a notification that my laptop's about to cut out and my charger is in the house. So if I disappear, you know what's happened. I had them down as 6th place, mate, so ideal. Right. It could be a tough game on Sunday. Robinson's a good manager, you know, he's highly thought of. Even Brendan spoke about him as well. They're a half decent team, so I went for 6th place for St Mirren.
Okay, mate. So, Andy, if you go and get your charger now, I'll just go through the league table quickly, mate. All right, so that you don't cut out. So basically, ladies and gentlemen, what we've got is the prediction from the guys on the panel at the 4 Leaf Clover podcast. So Celtic to win the league, Hibs to finish 2nd, Rangers to finish 3rd, Hearts to finish 4th, Aberdeen to finish 5th, St Mirren to finish 6th, Dundee United to finish 7th, Kilmarnock to get 8th place, Motherwell to get 9th, Dundee to get 10th, Falkirk to get 11th, and Andy's favourite team, Livingston, to get 12th. So what we'll do is we will have a look back at that at the end of the season and see how the lads got on with their predictions. So moving on then, ladies and gentlemen, there is some fixtures. The last thing we're going to speak about tonight is there is some fixtures this weekend, finally. So let's go through the SPFL fixtures that are happening this weekend in the Premier League. So on Saturday, Kilmarnock take on Livingston. That's the game, the inaugural game that is going to kick off the season at 3 o'clock. Then at Firth Park, Motherwell take on the Rangers live on Sky. After that, on Sunday, Falkirk take on Dundee United, again live on Sky. Dundee take on Hibernian. Obviously, Celtic are playing St Mirren again on Sky. And Heart of Midlothian on Monday take on Aberdeen yet again live on Sky. So Sky doing us all a good turn, but it looks of things this season for a change. They've sort of neglected the Scottish game for years, but we don't give a shit about the rest of the games. We're just here to talk about one of them, and that is Celtic versus St Mirren. Gentlemen, give me your predicted starting lineups and give me your prediction for the game and the score. Paddy, I shall come to you first, sir.
I think it'll be a cracking game, Scott. I honestly do. St Mirren play a really good brand of football. They've a couple of big guys up front that have been doing the business for them. They like to get the ball forward. They like to get it wide. They like to get it into the box. And if we're not switched on, we could be in trouble. But listen, it's Flag Day. Paul McStay is just going to absolutely have the stadium buzzing before the game. We're just going to be, the place will be in an absolute fervent because of the seeing the maestro unfurling that flag. So it's up to us, and Brendan will want Celtic to come out and put a marker down from day one. You know, we can talk till we're blue in the face about the transfer window, but listen, the talk about players who are here, not here. The only thing that will matter on Sunday are the players that are here. We'll deal with that after the game, but we have more than enough in the tank to see off St Mirren. So what I want to see on Sunday is Celtic come out, give us a really good performance, get 3 points, good positive display, no injuries. So I'm going to go for a starting lineup of Kasper Schmeichel in goal. My back four is going to be Alistair Johnson. Two centre halves will be Austin Trusty and Liam Scales, and left back will be KT. My three midfielders will be Callum McGregor, Arne Engels, and Rio Hatate. And up front, we're going to have Yang on the right, Adam Ida through the middle, and Dyson Maida on the left. And I'm going to go for a reasonably comfortable 3-0 victory for Celtic. The goal scorers are going to be Adam Ida, Dyson Maida, and my man Arne Engels.
You had to get Arne Engels in there, didn't you, Kaiser? You had to get him in. You had to get him in. What is your predicted starting 11, Kaiser, and how do you see the game going, mate, with the score as well, sir?
It's been a very, very good game, but I see Celtic romping this one, my man. 7-0 the Kaiser's going for. It's in the pen book. We're starting off with a blaster. Big Kasper in goals, AJ, Murray, Trusty and KT. And then a midfielder, Engels, Callum McGregor, Rio Hatate. I've got Nygren on the right. Big Adam Ida up front and Maeda on the left.
Ooh. Okay, mate. And what's your prediction for the scoreline?
7-0, my man.
7-0. Sorry, sorry. That must have startled me when you said that. I remember you saying that, mate. 7-0, 7-0. I wondered where Nygren was there, Andy, in Paddy's lineup, but he's not going to drop Arne Engels, is he? Oh, no. But are you going to drop Arne Engels for Nygren, or do you squeeze him in?
Nygren has to prove himself yet.
I actually wrote Nygren down and then I've scored it out and put Engels because that's what I would like to see, but I think he's going to go with Engels. So I've went Kasper in goals, AJ, I've got Murray, Trusty, KT, I've got Engels, Kalmack and Hatate in midfield, I've got Yang on the right, I've got Ida through the middle and Maeda on the left. But I can see quite a few changes there as well, like say Nygren and Yamada. getting a run out as well.
Scoreline?
3-0 Celtic, 3-0.
3-0. 3-0. Okay, so some interesting scorelines in there, especially Kaiser's one. Brilliant. That's us, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning in this evening. We managed to get 2 hours out of that tonight. It was brilliant. I really loved the stuff on the Green Brigade. That was fantastic content, lads. Really enjoyed listening to all of you. Thank you, Paddy. Thank you, Kaiser. Thank you, Andy. Absolutely brilliant podcast tonight, as ever. If this is your first time watching us, give us a like, share, and especially a subscribe on our YouTube page, because it helps us out massively. We're just growing and growing and growing, and it's all thanks to you guys. Tell your pals, tell your mates, everything. Tell your family, your friend, everything. We really want to grow this community, and it's great. It's great to have everybody in the chat as well as ever. Thank you so much. We'll see you on the post-match show on Sunday after the Celtic romping victory. Hopefully Kaiser's scoreline is bang on, but I might have to write down too many notes for that, but we'll see what happens anyway. Thank you so much, everybody. We'll see you after the game on Sunday, and hail, hail.
Hail, hail, guys.
Legends. Stay blessed.
Cheers.
With the 4-leaf clover on my breast, and the green and white upon my chest, it's such a joy for us to see, for they play football the Celtic way, for they play football the Celtic way, for they play football the Celtic way, 'cause they play football the Celtic way.